Hello dudes, Axel here. Welcome to another, well, this one isn't specifically a Linuxy video, but it is still free and open source software. So, today we're taking a look at PeerTube. Now, I mentioned in yesterday's video on the Brave web browser that I was thinking of taking a look at it, or well, I kind of said I mentioned it, and after the fact that I decided to look into it more and realized PeerTube is freaking awesome. So we're going to be looking at that here. Now, another thing, as of how I've been doing things lately, how I'm handling it, for those of you who follow me on Twitter, you guys will get a link to the PeerTube upload as soon as the video is published. Whereas everybody else who's going to end up watching on YouTube, they have to wait until the 12 p.m. noon the day after. So a little bit of free early access for those of you who follow on Twitter and stuff. So, you don't have to, but if you want stuff a little bit early, you can follow me on Twitter. Keep an eye out for the PeerTube link. You can also technically follow on PeerTube, but it doesn't, currently doesn't work quite like how a YouTube subscription works. We'll get to that a little bit later. But anyway, for the foreseeable future, future Linuxy and tech-related videos are going to be going up on both PeerTube and YouTube. So, without further ado, let's get into what exactly PeerTube is and why I like it so much. So, first off, PeerTube, take back control of your videos, a decentralized video hosting network based on free/Libre software. So, for any and all of you familiar with Mastodon, it's the base. To put it very simply, it's a federated social network in that people can host their own instances of it, but those instances, aka they're basically servers, individual servers. They can all also link to other instances. So, whereas something like YouTube is centralized, all of that's like on Google servers. Something like PeerTube is across a bunch of other servers, but those servers can still link to each other, so you can still see videos that are on other servers. So it's all federalized rather than being centralized, which distributes the load, which alleviates the problem that VidMe had, for example. And yeah, it's just great. I'm very excited about PeerTube. So let's go to how it works. Everyone can host a PeerTube server we call an instance, like I was mentioning earlier. Every instance has its own users and their videos, and then all of those instances can link to other instances if I believe it's if the administrator of an instance follows another instance, like whatever instance they're following, you can see the videos from other instances on the instance that you're on. So, yeah. Here's why it's cool. Servers are run independently by different people and organizations. They can apply wildly different moderation policies, so you can also find an instance that suits your taste perfectly, because like different instances can have different policies. So yeah, you have a lot of options, but still using like the same overall technology. So yeah, and the way that watching videos works is it makes use of torrent protocol. So basically, it's peer-to-peer, hence why it's called PeerTube. Anyway, jump into the FAQ real quick. Just gonna make sure there's not anything I really missed here. Oh, right, the other nice advantage, it is also free and open source software, so, that's generally a nice thing to have. Anyway, yeah, in a nutshell, it allows you to create your own video hosting website to kind of make your own homemade YouTube, which can connect to other homemade YouTubes. So, yeah, PeerTube is pretty cool. As for the instance that I decided to go with for now, that should be a little better. I had it in that spot for like games and stuff, and haven't really changed it since then. So that should be a little better for this sort of thing, because I'm not gonna have anything at the bottom left. Right. Also, I'm gonna need to censor that video over on the right. So, stuff like sensitive material is supposed to be auto censored, but I think that also requires the uploader of the content to set it as sensitive material. So, note to self, censor that. Anyway, yeah, that's one thing that can happen, but hey, anywhere you go that can host videos, there's gonna be not safe for work content. So yeah, I mean that's not that can happen on YouTube as well. It does happen on you. What do I mean can happen? It does happen on YouTube as well. But anyway, I have my account and channel set up here on peertube.mastodon.host. As you can see, there's yesterday's video right there. 12 views, which I don't know how many of those came from Twitter or not, but yeah, that kind of surprised me a little bit. So that was cool. So the nice thing with PeerTube, I need to make sure that. Oh, right. Other note to self: cover up that left bar. My email address is visible. Gee, I didn't plan this super well. Anyway, cool thing with it. A lot of the settings, like, not so much on this page, but like when you're actually, well, I'll get to that in a second. So you can customize. So, okay, so how it works is you make an account, and then with that account, you can have multiple channels, and like each channel could have a particular genre of your content. So, for example, I have the Axel Tech channel here, or Exotic. Exotic. I just thought that sounded dumb. Anyway, yeah, so Axel Tech, that has all my Linuxy stuff, and well, it only has the Brave thing right now. I haven't put any old videos up on it. I'll get to a limitation of some instances later, but yeah, right now it just has the Brave Linux web browsers video. It's also going to have this one, of course, so some of you might actually be watching this from there. Right, so get all your settings. You can choose the display name. You can change that at any time you want to. When you make the username, it has to be all lowercase. I might actually be able to make the display name of it capital. Yeah, all right, there we go. So you can do that. You can set a description, and you can change your password. Yeah, so default policy is to blur thumbnails, meaning I guess that other video that I need to censor in post might not have set itself as sensitive content. So the person who uploaded it was like, haha, I'm going to show this on everybody's feeds. Oh boy. Anyway, you can have multiple channels, and each channel can also have its own unique description along with its own unique support stuff. I'll show that off in a second because that's relevant to when you upload a video. So think of the support thing here as kind of like what you would get with the upload defaults on YouTube, except that specifically shows up in its own little, not really tab, but like a button on the video page. We'll show that off here soon. So you can have individual channels with individual methods of support if you choose to do that. And individual description for that channel, individual name for that channel. So if I wanted to, I could also have like an Axel Gaming channel to have that completely separate from the tech stuff. So you guys could still like follow stuff from me, but specifically the channel from me that you're interested in. And I don't know, this might be possible on YouTube as well, but it feels a lot more straightforward here on PeerTube. So that's awesome. Anyway, let's go to my videos. From this page, it just shows your videos in general, but I think you can also go like directly. Yeah, you can go directly to the channel, and it'll show the video that's on that channel, as you can see here. Let me go back to my account. All right. Also, there's public profile, which just shows what I was just on. Okay. Well, kind of. Yeah. So you can go to either just the parent profile, or you can go to the individual channel, like so. Find the videos. So speaking of, we'll go to this. You can also, it wasn't that settings page I was on earlier. You can also choose whether to autoplay videos or not. I have it turned off because I just kind of like having more control over it like that. So as you can see here, the support button here, when you click that, that's like what the thing that I showed earlier was, that support section. That shows up in the button there. So you can include links to stuff for people who want to support your content. There's also a share button, of course, so you can either embed it somewhere or just give a direct link. And then there's more options here. You can directly download the video from the watch page. Not a thing you can do with YouTube. At least by default. I don't know if extensions might let you do that. Meh. I'm assuming the update, yeah, those two buttons are because this is my video. You can like or dislike, and you can also see the tags straight up right there. Categories, license, privacy. So yeah, this is what I was kind of talking about with how it's similar to YouTube. Let me actually go to an upload page real quick. So if we go here, I can't really show everything from this. But okay, actually, I'll go to the edit details thing on the other one. But when you are uploading, you can choose what channel you want it to go to, like I kind of alluded to earlier. There's also all the privacy options, which are basically the same as what you get with YouTube. So we can either go straight to public, it can just be unlisted, it can be private, or it can be scheduled. And that is fantastic. Anyway, let me jump back to this one. I'm going to go to the edit page here. So yeah, this is a lot like how the YouTube stuff is, except the description part here is in Markdown. I actually have no idea if the YouTube description uses Markdown or not, because I'd never experimented, but if it does, it doesn't make it obvious. This made it very obvious. If we click this right here, the description is truncated by default, require manual action to expand them. Markdown compatible, that supports all that stuff. Like, that straight up says, this is Markdown compatible. Yay! So you can enter all your tags there, you got the title stuff there, channel categories, which as far as I can tell are the same as what you'd get with YouTube. Except on YouTube, that's films and animation. It's just films here. But that, who cares? You can choose your license, which I'm assuming that's Creative Commons for that stuff. Or you can make it public domain, or I guess you can leave it blank. I don't know. I also need to remember to look more into the different Creative Commons derivatives or different versions of Creative Commons, because like I need to understand the difference between all these, because I just kind of left it on attribution and I don't actually know what all the differences are. Need to look into that. You can choose what language it is, and of course the privacy stuff. Of course you can't make it scheduled after it's already public. That's kind of a no-brainer. Yeah, you do need to manually check that it contains mature or explicit content, unlike that video on the homepage. You can enable comments, and you can also wait for transcoding before it's published, which is probably a good idea, because if you decide not to wait, it can be unplayable until transcoding ends. So generally, you're going to want to do that. And we also got advanced settings. You can set the thumbnail, you can set the preview. I believe the preview is pretty much what you see on the video page before you click the play button. So there's that, and then advanced settings is where you can manually change the support stuff on a per video basis. So that all being said, another thing I was going to go into, if I go back to my account here, you can see there's a video quota section. Not every instance has something like that. Most of them will. That is the amount of data that your account can have on that instance. So the more common one that I see is 5 gigabytes. There are a few that don't have a limit. Most of them do, though. But that's another thing that definitely separates it from YouTube, is you do have a limit to how much total stuff you can put up. But if you make sure to do a if you use the right codecs for your video encoding to make it smallest file size you can, still retaining good quality, you should be okay. Because the Linux web browsers video I put up, as you can see, that's the only one that I have. That's 141 megabytes. That is a 1440p video. So now, granted, with my webcam, it probably doesn't look like it, but trust me, it is. So I guess there's also not a lot of stuff going on in that. There's kind of just a lot of static desktop in the background. So for these kinds of videos, I can keep the file sizes kind of small, but if you were to do like gaming content or whatever, that could eat that up pretty quick. So that can be a downside. Of course, there are also instances that don't impose a limit, but then you have to wonder, what if you get to a point where they're just like, holy crap, how much are you putting up here? Please stop. You never know. That's the thing. But the advantage is, if you're in a position where you can host your own instance, you can still do that and follow other instances. They don't need to worry about what all you're putting on your own instance. but you'll still be able, but people who are on yours will still be able to see stuff from other instances that yours follows. So really depends on how you want to do things. If you're like a bigger content creator and you're in a position where you can host your own PeerTube instance, that might just be the way to go for you. Food for thought there. Anyway, I think that's about all that I had to go into for PeerTube here. We'll go back to the home page. So, okay, yeah, there's a blurred one. You know, it's blurred, but it still makes it pretty obvious what that is. I'm going to go back to my account page now. Oh, geez. Yeah, that's something you do have to be aware of. If people set their stuff right, it will be blurred. But, yeah. Careful of that. Anyway, I'm really excited for PeerTube. I hope that it gains traction because so far it seems fantastic. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not done. I was going to mention how, like, subscriptions and stuff. So, with how it works right now, you can subscribe to this account via any ActivityPub capable Fediverse instance. For instance, with Mastodon or Pleroma, you can type in the search box and subscribe there. Right now, you can't just directly subscribe as a PeerTube user, but they are working on that. So, if you are a user of Mastodon, for example, you can follow that way. But other than that, you can't really subscribe directly through PeerTube at this time. But again, they are working on that. As for comments, it's kind of similar to that. They're still working on direct comment Wait, why is there a comment box then? Okay, so if you're browsing it from the instance that it's hosted on, you can comment on it, I guess. I think that's what that means. I'm not totally sure, but they're also working on that, I guess so. Okay, so yeah, you can leave comments. You cannot directly subscribe at this time, but it's being worked on. Anyway, back to what I was saying earlier. Back to my outro. So that's going to be it for this one, dudes. I'm very excited for the future of PeerTube. It looks super promising, has some nice features to it from the content creator side of things. So we'll see how things go from here. I'm going to continue posting my stuff to both YouTube and PeerTube. Once again, if you follow me on Twitter, you will get access to the PeerTube link, which theoretically, the video on PeerTube will be live sooner than you'll have access to it on YouTube. So keep that in mind if you want stuff a little bit early. But anyway, till next time, this has been Axel. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.